Hi, I'm Kathy Bernard, editor of So Beautiful magazine, and I'd like to thank Quality Time for supporting us and participating in this blog tour. Come with us and spend some quality time learning how to do some pin tucks, and that's going to be this part of the tour. If you are a fan of Quality Time and you know nothing about So Beautiful, I invite you to visit our website at www.sobeautifulmag.com to learn more about us. And also, if you're just joining this blog tour and you don't really quite know what we're doing, let me give you a little preview. In our issue 132, which is out, which is our current issue, or you can get, if it's later on, you can get a back issue. But we're going to be making this beautiful camisole. It's called, the article is called Vintage Inspired because it was inspired by a beautiful antique nightgown. And we've reproduced it here using beautiful Swiss foil fabric and some Maline laces. And this is actually machine embroidery. Here's some folded pin tucks, and in these little windows are actually double needle pin tucks, and on this part of the blog tour I'm going to show you how to do those things because they're very common in heirloom sewing. So if you want to pick up the issue, it will have the templates in it, and we will also give the instructions. So let's move on to this segment and learn about how to do pin tucks. Okay, we're here at the board, and let me point out to you what we're going to be working on. In this segment right here, which is our little window, there are double needle tucks lined up side by side, and there's a great way to make this very easy and precise using a grooved pin tuck foot like this one. Most all of the machine companies have a grooved pin tuck foot, and that you can do double needle tucks without it, but I'm telling you, this makes it so much easier and so much more precise, and you get a perfect even distance between each tuck when you use a grooved foot. So it makes it easier, it makes it quicker, and it makes it more beautiful and more precise. The other type of pin tuck we're going to be doing is right here. And these are folded pin tucks, and they are stitched just slightly off of the folded edge, and you'll have to fold and stitch each one of those. So we're gonna cover how to do each one of these pin tucks. Now, like I said, you're going to need your grooved pin tuck foot. This is a 5 groove. You'll need a twin needle. Let me take this out of the package and show you. It's a needle that has, it's 2 needles in one. We're going to be using the 1/6/70 size, and that's a pretty narrow one. This one is a 20/80 size, and it's a little bit further apart. So you want to use one that's one of either of those to make close together pin tucks. Now, what you'll need to do to start with, the instructions in the magazine tell you to cut a 4" by 16" strip like I've done here. And I've folded that in half and pressed a crease down the center. I don't need to really mark any of all those little strips for pin tucks because we're going to start in the middle and stitch this one. Then this one will be our guide to stitch these tucks and these tucks, and we'll be working on both sides of the center. So let's go to the machine and I'll show you how to prepare your machine for double needle pin tucks. Okay, we're at the machine, and we're using a Husqvarna Viking. It's a great machine for working with heirloom sewing, but there's also great top-of-the-line machines by Bernina, Baby Lock, Elna. They all make machines that do precision work. What you need to do to set up for pin tucks is first you need to put in your grooved foot. You need to have your double needle set in. Then you're going to have to wind a bobbin so that you have two top sources of thread. And of course you have your bobbin source of thread. I'm using 80 weight thread, both in the top and the bobbin. You can use 60 weight, but for heirloom sewing you want to use very, very fine, lightweight thread. So on this machine I've got this extra spool here, and I've separated them. I've run both of the threads through as one. I've threaded the machine with 2 strands of thread as if there were one. Then when I came down to the needle, I separated them and threaded this needle and threaded this needle. and this machine just keeps it separate. And and then there's one thread for the bobbin. Now the trick to the double needle is you have 2 stitches on top and 1 thread on the bottom. The bottom thread is actually pulling that together, which creates a little hump and creates that pin tuck. It makes, and because we're using a very lightweight fabric like batiste and voile, that fabric will kind of groove up and make a channel up between our grooved foot, which is what we want. Now if you were using something thicker, a heavier fabric, you're just going to get 2 rows of stitching side by side. And so that's where we've learned, you know, in the old days they used to have to fold those little strips and stitch them by hand. And this is where we've learned that the machine can make the same effect as was done in the olden days by hand. So let's get started. I've got my machine set on just a straight stitch at a 1.5 stitch length, and since this is very intricate and tiny, I wanted a very close stitch length, not a 2.5 or a 2. So I'm going to start about a ½ inch to an inch down from the top edge, and I'm going to center my crease on the center groove. So I'm going to let Shannon actually cut away so she can get in a little closer and you can see what we're doing here. Okay, we're back at the machine, and we've got a tighter view on the foot and the needles, and if you can see this, my needles are actually the crease is straddling, well, the needles are straddling the center line, the crease line, and that's going to ride right in that center groove of my foot. So I'm going to hold these tails just for the first couple of stitches to keep them out of the way and to kind of pull that through. Now we're just going to stitch along, and it's my job to guide that crease down that middle groove. And we're going to go the whole length of the fabric. Let me get a lot of this done so I can pull it up and show you what it actually looks like. And then we'll cut away and we'll go back to how you start sewing the other pin tucks. Okay, we're going to stop here for a second and let me show you what this is actually looking like behind. Isn't that great? There is my pin tuck. And at first, you know, it may look a little puckered, but when you press that with some starch, it's going to be perfectly straight. Now if you get a lot of puckering here, you need to loosen up your tension. You don't want a lot of puckering and pulling going on in here. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this line, and then I'm going to show you how to start your second line. Okay, here's our first double needle pin tuck down the middle of our 4 by 16 inch strip. To start our second one, we're going to place the pin tuck in the groove. Let me get this to point with. Here's our center groove. We're going to place this over in the groove right next to the center groove. So I'm going to lower my presser foot right on top of that. Now I'm going to be stitching right beside this. Now this groove is going to be catching this pin tuck is going to be catching under this groove, which keeps this even and straight. And there's not a lot I really have to do except for just make sure it's guided from this end. So we're going to start our next one. And as you can see, really the foot and the machine is doing all the work for me. I'm just making sure it doesn't veer off. Let me get further down and I'll pick it up and show you what that's looking like. And for this particular piece, we're going to do several tucks to the left of center and several tucks to the right of center to just create a piece we can cut the window from. Okay, I'm going to stop there and show you. See, there's our second tuck. That looks great. And you're going to be really surprised when we press that how straight and smooth that's going to be. So I'm going to finish this up and do a couple more tucks, and once we finish all of our tucks, we'll go to pressing it and I'll show you the next step. Thanks.